Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between. Jackie's got a sports show, and you were tuning into that very sports show on this here Friday. Was going to put one out yesterday, but didn't have the time. Things were really conjoined. So, coming at you today at a perfect time because this is going to be a football fan's guide or baseball fan's guide, whatever fan you are. If you aren't a fan of basketball and you want to get into basketball, these are some things you need to know about this season. But of course, before we get into that, we got a couple stories I want to go over. And before we get into that, how are you? How you doing? How's the past couple days been? I'm gonna go through some experimentation with the days I want to post the podcast post NFL season. I feel like the Tuesday and the Thursday works really good with football season, but Tuesday and Thursday, when I want to talk about wrestling, when I want to talk about basketball, and eventually baseball, maybe some F1, maybe some hockey, or whatever I want to do. I don't know if Tuesday and Thursday is really great for that, considering that's two podcasts in the span of 3 days, and not a lot of happens in 3 days. So I might start doing like Mondays and Fridays. I might start doing Tuesdays and Fridays, Tuesdays and Saturdays, maybe. Uh, Mondays and Fridays, maybe Mondays and Thursdays, something like that, if I want to do 2 podcasts a week. So stay with me through this experimentation time. This is the first time I'm going to be doing a quote unquote sports talk show throughout the entire year. So it's a challenge and it worries me a little bit considering my bag is not deep when it comes to every other league outside the NFL, but it's a challenge that I welcome, and I feel like that's the way you got to take it. Really been thinking about it. Really have a bit of anxiety when it comes to covering other sports in this realm of sports talk. I've been doing it fine on TikTok, but creating a show that's at least half an hour and doing that, you know, without football being a main topic, at least for around like May to August, really. Football gets really, really still then. It's worrying to me. It scares me a little bit just to be completely open and vulnerable with y'all, but I welcome the challenge instead of running away from it. And that is something I've been working on for the past couple of years, a trait that I've been trying to get right. And I know my hair looks pretty insane. I'm just going to blame it on the camera quality and not, being weird. So that's it. If you want to know where to follow me, where to keep up with me, it'll be in the description. Or if you're patient enough, I'll say it at the end of the episode. And let's just get into the episode. Now, we got a couple stories that I said I want to get into before we start talking about the NBA. First, defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, Steve Wilks, has been fired. And this does not sit right with me, as I feel like it does not sit right with a lot of you. This feels like a firing that what came from the 49ers wanting and needing someone to blame, and they're not going to fire Kyle Shanahan. So who's the next guy? Steve Wilks. I don't think this is fair. I don't think this is proper. I don't think it's right. Steve Wilks has gotten the short end of the stick a couple times now, hasn't he? He was the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals and got handed a horrible team, did nothing with that horrible team, and was out in one season for Cliff Kingsbury. Now he's 49ers defensive coordinator, does a really good job. San Francisco's defense was one of the best all season, and gets fired because someone needs to be blamed for San Francisco losing again. Like I said, it can't be Kyle Shanahan, apparently. Front office loves Kyle Shanahan too much. Kyle Shanahan has a lot of power in that organization, so it's not going to be Kyle Shanahan. But that's the conversation we really need to start having. And I'm going to try to make this short because we have a lot to get through, and I have literally an hour before I have to go to work. Kyle Shanahan, we need to have this conversation. It started before the season. It needs to start right now. Kyle Shanahan has now been in 3 Super Bowls, 2 times as a head coach, 1 time as an offensive coordinator for the Falcons. Lost every single one of them. Every single one of them. And in every single one of them, the offense failed. The offense failed. You can talk about Jimmy G overthrowing Emmanuel Sanders in the first Super Bowl against the Chiefs. You can talk about that. I think there's a conversation to be had about that. But they still had a 2-possession lead that Kyle Shanahan's offense stalled. Couldn't put up any points. Stalled. And Kyle Shanahan has escaped blame. Why? Because he's seen as one of the smartest minds in football, which he is, undoubtedly, schematically, built one of the best and sexiest offenses we've ever seen, right? Son of Mike Shanahan, so he's got a legacy in the NFL, incredibly smart guy, whatever. But when it comes down to it, in the big moments, his offense fails. It fails. Why did the 49ers lose the Super Bowl? It wasn't because of Brock Purdy. It wasn't because Christian McCaffrey fumbled the ball. It wasn't because of their defense. Their defense was showing up and showing out. It was because the 49ers offense could not finish drives. Give some credit to Steve Spagnuolo and that Chiefs defense, in which I will. Y'all know I've been on that for the past week or so. But you are seen as one of the smartest minds in football, one of the smartest offensive minds in football. Not only that, you are now building a tree with guys like Mike McDaniel in Miami, to where now not only are you one of the smartest minds in football, now one of the other smartest minds in offense or on the offensive side of the ball in Miami came from you. Not saying Mike McDaniel learned everything from Kyle Shanahan, but it has a lot to do with it. And you don't get it done. Your offense stalls. Your offense fails when it matters. The 49ers couldn't finish that overtime drive, just like they couldn't finish the drive before that. They couldn't script a good enough play, and Andy Reid outcoached Kyle Shanahan. Now, it's hard to coach one of the greatest coaches of all time. That YouTube video will be coming out shortly. It's hard to outcoach him. But when you are as hyped up as Kyle Shanahan is, when you've gotten as many breaks as Kyle Shanahan has, when Kyle Shanahan, like I said, is as hyped up as he is, you got to do it at least once. 3 Super Bowl appearances, each one your offense stalled out and was plagued with stupid-ass decisions. Every single one. Every single one. And yet this guy is still the head coach of the 49ers. Still regarded as one of the best coaches in the league. I'm not saying he should be thrown out of the league. What I'm saying is Steve Wilks taking the blame for this and the 49ers not pointing at Kyle Shanahan at all for what it seems like, it's wrong. It's completely wrong. Plus, you have some 49ers players didn't know the overtime rules. And of course, Nick Bosa and I think Fred Warner came out and said that they weren't expecting the read option part of the Chiefs offense. So maybe you could blame some of that on Steve Wilks. But none of the blame going to Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers saying, Steve Wilks, get out of here. It was your fault. That is why the 49ers are just going to be runner-up. They're just going to be runner-up. I believe Chi-Town Hoops said it when the Bucks traded for Damian Lillard, which isn't going that well, but we'll talk about that in a second. When they traded for Damian Lillard, he was talking about how the Miami Heat were not serious. Miami Heat were not serious about winning. That is why they could not land Damian Lillard. Milwaukee Bucks are serious about winning. That is why they got Damian Lillard. The 49ers, not pinning any blame on Kyle Shanahan, you're not serious about winning. You're okay with being the runner-up. That's all I got to say. I think Steve Wilks is going to get another job. I don't think this is proper. I don't think this is right. This was the 49ers, as I've said, and I promise it's the last time I'm going to say it. This is the 49ers needing someone to blame, so they pick the easy one to blame, not the one who should actually be blamed. Now, on a much lighter note, College Football 25 officially announced coming out in the summer. I want to talk to. I want to tell y'all something. Don't overhype this game. We know the history of games that consistently get pushed back. We know EA's history. I know a lot of people have said it's not the same team who works on Madden. It's still EA. I still don't trust them. This game is not going to be as good as everybody thinks it's going to be. It could still be great. I'm not saying there's no chance College Football 25 is not great, but a lot of people are putting a lot of expectations on it. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to meet it. Maybe pessimistic, maybe scorned from EA. It's very possible. I'm just saying, don't get your hopes up. It looks dope. The promotional material, the stuff they showed in the teaser trailer they put out on Twitter, it might be on YouTube now. It's probably on YouTube now. It looks dope. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying. Remember what company you're talking about. Just remember what company you're talking about. Remember what industry you were talking about. Games nowadays don't get released finished, even if it's a case like College Football 25, where it's been pushed back, and then pushed back, and then pushed back, and then pushed back. And last story I want to talk about that kind of leads into the NBA. LeBron James had his whole spiel with the Lakers press conference talking about the reporter cut him off, and it was good that the reporter cut him off, and then he tweeted that hourglass. And apparently when he did that, a couple teams got interested in reaching out to the Lakers, seeing if Bron was available. Two of those teams, including the Warriors and the 76ers. The 76ers, I completely get. You were on a slide, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Don't you worry. Joel Embiid is hurt. You need to save your season. You try to go get Bron. Completely get it. The Warriors are a very middle of the pack team. And I guess they were like, hey, it worked a couple of years ago with KD. Why can't it work with LeBron? And I want to tell y'all, this is how the conversation went. So the 76ers and the Warriors called the Lakers front office. And the Lakers said, no, Bron wants to stay here. And the Lakers and the Warriors and 76ers both were like, come on. That's bull. And you know it. And they were like, okay, contact his agent, Rich Paul. And this is how I imagine the phone call went down. Hey, Rich. Yeah, we're looking to get Bron. Yeah, no, we're happy in LA. Come on. Come on, man. I know Bron's not happy there. I know Bron wants to be on the move. And he's like, do you know how much money we make in Los Angeles? Do you think we're going to make that in San Francisco and Philadelphia? That's how that phone call went. I don't mean to accusations, alleged accusations. I'm not saying Rich Paul is a Freddie Freeman kind of thing, but I like to imagine that's how the conversation went. But all that being said, it's time to get into the NBA. Football fans, if you're focusing on football, if you're focusing on any other sport, if you're just trying to get into the NBA right now, I got the hookup. I got the standings, and I got what storylines you need to be following, what you need to keep up with, and I got some of the award races to keep up with. So let's get right into the news. So we're going to talk about the East first. Well, first of all, it's perfect that we're doing this because All-Star Weekend starts actually today. So the NFL stopping on All-Star break is actually phenomenal. Love it. Like I said, we're going to talk about the East first. So the standings in the East, and this goes in order. Everybody that, if the season ended right now, would be in the playoffs is the Celtics, which is the best team in the league, best record in the league. The Cleveland Cavaliers, the Milwaukee Bucks, New York Knicks, Philadelphia 76ers, and the Indiana Pacers. Now, the four play-in teams that would be competing to get into the playoffs, get that extra spot in the playoffs, or two extra spots, I guess you would say. The Miami Heat, the Orlando Magic, the Chicago Bulls, and the Atlanta Hawks. And then on the bridge of being play-in teams are the Brooklyn Nets and the Toronto Raptors. Now, Some storylines you need to be keeping up with in the East. First off, we're going to talk about the Knicks. The New York Knicks were early in the season. They were hanging around 500. They were an okay team. They were not a great team. And then they made a massive trade. They traded for OG and Anunoby, sending RJ Barrett and I believe a couple other pieces, and I believe they received one or two other pieces to the Raptors. And since then, they got him on December 30th. They are now 33-19. 33-19, and before they got him, they were 17-15. Ridiculous turnaround. And the Knicks have been very good. Now, unfortunately, if I wasn't clear right there, OG has been out since January 27th with an elbow injury, and the Knicks have won 4 of 9, which isn't good. And OG is going to be out for another 3 weeks. And on top of that, the Knicks are riddled with injuries, including guys like Julius Randle. Now, the Knicks are a very good team, and 3 weeks in reality isn't that big of a deal, especially since they are still winning games, and they are the 4th seed right now. So there's really no real fear into slipping out of the playoffs. This team is a very good team. They're a very talented team. But the big criticism with them, and it's a valid criticism, they don't have any superstar power. That is why you can't really pick them to come out of the East. The Celtics, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown is on the border. Kristaps Porzingis is playing so good this season. The Cavs, you got Donovan Mitchell over there. Darius Garland keeps rising. Jared Allen's a great piece. The Bucks, obviously, you have Giannis and Dame. 76ers have Joel Embiid. Of course, we'll talk about it in a second. Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton is rising. So all these guys have superstar power on their teams. The Knicks don't really have that. The Knicks have a good team. Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Julius Randle when he wants to play. Mitchell Robinson is a phenomenal center. They have great pieces, the New York Knicks do. But they don't really have a player that is like, that's the guy that's going to lead them to a title. I think they still need that before they are true contenders. That is why they were trying to make plays for guys like Giannis. But these guys are definitely a good team. Definitely win a playoff series. They did it last year, upsetting the Cavs, I believe, in like 4 or 5 games. It was ridiculous. The Knicks are a good team that can make a pretty decent playoff run. Are they title contenders? Not yet. Not yet, unfortunately. But they are getting there. Next, we're going to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks can't really seem to get it together. Now, I had a segment on them when they fired Adrian Griffin a couple weeks ago. Here's how it went down. They hired Adrian Griffin after giving Mike Budenholzer the boot. Mike Budenholzer, the coach that led them to the title a couple of years ago, wasn't a great coach, was really being carried by Giannis and a couple of the other talents on that team. And one important piece they lost in the offseason was Drew Holiday. Why is Drew Holiday that important? He was the heart and soul of that defense. He was the leader of that defense. Adrian Griffin was tasked with rebuilding that defense, rebuilding that identity with no Drew Holiday, and he failed. Not only did he fail, he caused some major heat with him and the players and him in the front office, ran out an assistant coach that they got because that assistant coach had connections to Damian Lillard, and he got the boot. And who do they bring in? Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers, known failure. I love Doc as a person. I'm not hating on him as a person in the slightest, but just there's nothing really to be said about what Doc has done the past 15 years. Right? He won a title. That's it. With the Clippers, with the 76ers, it's a trail of failure. But he gets hired, and Patrick Beverley gets picked up like a week later to replace Drew Holiday, to try to bring some identity back to that defense. And the first couple games, it worked. Patrick Beverley got picked up, and they beat the Hornets and held the Hornets to 90 points. And then they beat the Nuggets and held the Nuggets to like 85 points. And you're like, okay. And then they lose 123-97 to Miami. And then you realize, oh, now they are 3-5 under Doc Rivers. They are 3-5 with an absolutely embarrassing performance and embarrassing loss to the Grizzlies last night. Embarrassing. Made a video about it this morning. I watched it expecting the Grizzlies to get blown out because let me tell you, I didn't put anything about the Grizzlies because the Grizzlies were the second seed in the West last season, and then Ja got suspended, and then when Ja came back, he got hurt, and then Desmond Bane got hurt, and then Marcus Smart got hurt, and every one of their great players got hurt outside of Jaren Jackson Jr., and Jaren Jackson Jr. didn't even play last night, and the Bucks lost by multiple possessions. Well, not multiple possessions. They got like a 3 with 10 seconds left in the game, right? It was embarrassing. Embarrassing to lose to that Grizzlies team. This Bucks team is currently the 3rd seed in the East. And I'm not counting them out because they do have Giannis. They do have Dame. Brook Lopez is a great player. Bobby Portis coming off the bench, great player. Chris Middleton, great player. They got great players. They need something, though. If they want to title contend, which is the goal, which is the whole reason Damian Lillard went to Milwaukee, if they want to contend for any kind of title, if they want to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, if they want to beat the Boston Celtics, if they want to even beat the Indiana Pacers or the New York Knicks, they need to light a fire under themselves. Maybe it'll happen post All-Star break. I hope it happens because Giannis is my favorite player in the league. But they need something. That is a massive storyline y'all need to follow. Let's talk Celtics. Boston Celtics seem to be the best team in the league. As of recording, they just beat the Nets by 50. Only team to do that 3 times in one season. Disgusting 26-3 home record. But the big question is, can they take that success into the playoffs? They made the finals a couple years ago and lost to the Warriors. I believe they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year before the Heat beat them to move on to face the Nuggets in the finals. This team's a great team, and it's destroying everybody. They got a great defense and a very dynamic offense. Adding Kristaps Porzingis really solidified that defense, along with everything that dude can do on offense. At the beginning of the season, when I made like my intro to the NBA season, I didn't think Kristaps Porzingis was a great move. I didn't know how much he would add, and me being a casual basketball fan, yeah, I was completely wrong. This dude is the main reason the Celtics team has turned into the best team in the league, the most scary team in the league. They are finals favorites, as they should be. But we'll see. We'll see if the Celtics can take this success into the playoffs. Next, we're going to talk 76ers. 76ers are a very sad case to look at. Why is it a sad case? Joel Embiid was the best basketball player in basketball. Point blank period this season. MVP frontrunner. 76ers were looking the best they've ever been. Tyrese Maxey was coming into his own. Tobias Harris was doing his thing. Guys all over the place doing their thing. And then Joel Embiid gets hurt against the Warriors a couple weeks ago. That's putting him on the shelf for 1 to 2 months, with reports coming out saying we are hopeful that he makes it back this season. That's not good. And since he's been injured, the 76ers have been 3-8. 3-8. You love a couple of pieces on there, but they are nothing. They're just not a good team without Joel Embiid. And 1 to 2 months, with the playoffs starting around May, I believe, maybe late April, that's not good. That's very scary. They have a chance on missing the play-in game. There's a possibility they make the play-in game, Joel Embiid returns, and they make a deep playoff run. That is absolutely a possibility. But it's a very slim possibility because they're going to start losing a lot more games. A lot more games, especially the division they're in, especially the conference they're in. And they have a chance of missing the playoffs. It's something to watch. The 76ers team has players that are very fun to watch. Tyrese Maxey comes to mind immediately. So it's not like this is a completely god-awful team to watch, but without Joel Embiid, they're not a great team. 3-8 without him. It's disgusting. Now, last team I want to talk about in the East, the Orlando Magic. The beginning of the season, I said the Orlando Magic could be a little bit of a shocker. And while at the beginning of the season, they were kind of doing that, they've kind of mellowed out the past month or so, becoming one of the play-in teams, the teams that might be a lock for a play-in game. The Orlando Magic, Paulo Banchero coming into his own, along with Wendell Carter Jr. playing great, Wagner brothers playing great. Very, very solid team that I will be watching very closely when it comes to playoff time. I don't think they're title contenders. I don't think they're going to do anything special, but they're a very fun team. They're a young team to watch. Just keep your eye on the Magic if you want to watch some fun basketball. So that is the East. That is some storylines to keep up with. That's the standings. And of course, as I said, we will get into some award races at the end. So let's hop right on over to the West, to the Western Conference. So in the West, the standings, and it's the same format as the East. I'm going to list you if the season ended today, this would be the playoff teams, the play-in teams, and the teams on the border. So playoff teams in order of seed. You got number 1, Timberwolves. Yes, the Minnesota Timberwolves are the best team in the West. You have the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then you have the Los Angeles Clippers, the Denver Nuggets, the Phoenix Suns, and the New Orleans Pelicans. In the play-in games, fighting for a play-in spot, Dallas Mavericks, Sacramento Kings, Los Angeles Lakers, Golden State Warriors, and on the bridge, you have the Utah Jazz and the Houston Rockets. Now let's talk Timberwolves first, because a lot of football fans who may barely keep up with basketball might be like, Timberwolves, they suck. They've sucked forever. And then they got KG and were good for like a year and then sucked after that. And you're right. But this Wolves team is what Wolves fans wanted this team to be last season. A very, very good defensive team with a pretty formidable offense. I always get Cole Anthony and Anthony Edwards switched. I think just because they're both named Anthony. But you got Anthony Edwards leading the team. You got Cat. You got Rudy Gobert playing like Rudy Gobert. A lot of good pieces on that team that, as I said, have made a very, very good defensive team. They are very hard to score on, and their offense is formidable. They are currently on a 3-game winning streak, which includes a 21-point win over the Los Angeles Clippers, the third team. This team is very good. Are they going to make a deep playoff run? That is yet to be seen. As I've said, do they have like a true superstar? Kind of like the Knicks. They're a much better team than the Knicks. But do they have a superstar that says, yes, this guy will lead us to a finals? Anthony Edwards is definitely rising there. I think Cat has pretty much hit his ceiling when it comes to that. Rudy Gobert is not leading them anywhere. So maybe Anthony Edwards is the guy that they can ride to. I don't want to say ride, because as I said, this team is just phenomenal, but that will lead them to the promised land. It is very possible, and we'll see. We'll see post All-Star break what this team looks like, and we'll see what this team looks like in the playoffs, because for sure they're making the playoffs. Let's talk Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City Thunder is a very young, yet a very dynamic team. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading one of the league's best offenses, best overall teams. Defense is hit or miss. Defense is okay, but the offense is top 5 in almost every major stat. The offense makes up for it. But one thing to note, I believe it is still the youngest team in the league, I believe. If you don't count, like if you count the Grizzlies without like John Morant and Triple J and Marcus Smart, I think they have a bid for being one of the youngest or the youngest team, but the Thunder is very, very young. I don't think they have many guys that are close to 30 years old. But very, very dynamic team, making the playoffs, very fun to watch, play very well together. I believe they caused a little ruckus in the playoffs last season, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of people think that this team is a piece or two away from truly contending. They have a lot of draft picks saved up, and a lot of people may say, and I kind of agree with this, that they kind of need to make a move, make a big move with all them draft picks, all that capital, which I'm not fully against. But this Thunder team is a very good team. Might be a piece or two away from truly contending, but we'll definitely see coming these playoffs. Now, the Los Angeles Clippers, the redheaded stepchild of LA. The Clippers made a move for James Harden a couple months ago, and I said on this show that I thought it was a mistake. I'm not a big James Harden guy. I hated what he did to the Rockets. I hated what he did to the 76ers. I hated what he did to the Nets. It really scorned me on who James Harden is. And then he gets to the Clippers, and I feel like it's going to be the same thing. It's not going to work. And right now, currently, that's been wrong. Now, keep in mind, the 76ers, James Harden was working, led them, carried them, dragged them without Joel Embiid to a playoff win. A couple of them, I believe, last season. So it was working the 76ers before it wasn't. But right now for the Clippers, it is working very, very well. It started off rocky, started off shaky. A lot of people are like, we told you this is what it was going to be. But now they've become one of the best teams in the league and one of the scariest offensives, notably leading the league in threes, which in today's NBA, that's the most important thing about offense, getting threes up and making them. And the Clippers have become one of the best teams to do it, especially Paul George, no slouch. Terrence Mann, no slouch. Of course, Westbrook is Westbrook. Kawhi is Kawhi. They have a lot of good pieces. They have the pieces to be a championship team. And honestly, if I were to pick someone where I'd be like, I can realistically see them making it out of the West this season, I'd pick the Clippers, which is good. As much as I don't like James Harden, I'd love to see him get a ring. I would love to see Russell Westbrook. I would love to see Russell Westbrook get a ring. Paul George get a ring. And the Clippers, who are seen as the redheaded stepchild in LA, I would love to see them finally get over the hump. Do I believe in the Clippers in the postseason? History tells me no. Do I believe in the health of the team? No. But it's a very fun team to watch. It's a very dangerous team to any team in this league. Look out for the Clippers this season. And the final Western Conference team we're going to talk about is the Suns. The Suns have created their version of the Big Three: Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal. Currently on a streak of winning 5 of their last 6. Best win of that stretch being Milwaukee, which isn't great. This team is They rely a lot on the Big Three. They have decent depth. I believe they got Nurkic at center. They have a pretty good starting 5 and okay depth. I don't think they're going to make it far. Their defense, while being good at times, is very questionable at other times. Their offense, of course, is great. You can't have a team with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal and have a bad offense. Their offense is great, but their defense is a lot to be desired. And maybe it's just because I don't like the Suns. Not a massive Kevin Durant fan. Maybe it's that. But I don't see a lot in this team. If they win up against the Pelicans in a 7-game series right now, I'd pick the Pelicans. I'd pick the Nuggets. I'd pick the Clippers. I'd pick the Thunder. And I'd pick the Timberwolves to win over them. And especially later, I'd pick the Mavs to beat them. The Kings, I could see the Suns beating. The Lakers, the Warriors, I could see them beating. But the Mavs, with the defense that the Mavericks can pull, along with one of the best offenses in the league, with Kyrie and Luka especially being on the court at the same time, I don't see them beating them. I might just be a hater, and y'all can call me a hater, but I just don't believe in the Suns that much. Now, award races. The MVP is pretty much wide open with Joel Embiid getting hurt. If y'all don't know, the NBA has now put in a rule to where you have to play at least 65 games to be considered for any NBA awards or all NBA teams. So, with Joel Embiid's injury, he will pass or he will not make it to 65 games. So the MVP race is wide open. I'm sorry if my dog is being loud. But a lot of people are saying Nikola Jokic is officially the front running position, which I believe you just said because Nikola Jokic is one of the best players in the NBA. When in doubt, give it to one of the best players in the NBA. Guys to look out for, if the Mavs start making a lot of noise post All-Star break, you can start looking at Luka. You can look at Jason Tatum. You can look at maybe Shea Gilgeous Alexander. Giannis, of course, is always going to be there. I don't see Kristaps Porzingis or Donovan Mitchell. Tyrese Halliburton is not really there. But a couple of those guys, Luka, Shea, maybe Anthony Edwards pulls something out of his ass, Jason Tatum. Those guys could really make a case for MVP coming up. As I said, Nikola Jokic can definitely do it, but I feel like first off, voter fatigue will play a lot into Nikola Jokic not winning, and the sheer fact that the Nuggets aren't a phenomenal team this season. And yeah, the other one I want to talk about before I get out of here is NBA Rookie of the Year. It seems to be a two-man race between Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren. I believe it's Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren. That does not sound. That sounds like a Will Ferrell character. Chet Holmgren. I hope I'm not saying that name wrong. But Victor Wembanyama seems to be absolutely running away with this, as he should. Victor Wembanyama does everything on the court. He does everything very well. Sorry, I'm freaking myself out a little bit. He does everything on the court. He does everything very well. I believe a couple days ago he had a game where he was like 27 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 blocks, 5 steals, 71% true shooting. This dude is insane. He's running away with it. He's going to make that Spurs a very, very good team. And the talks around like the Spurs possibly getting Trae Young in the very near future is very interesting. I believe the trade deadline is passed, so it's not like that's going to go anywhere anytime soon, but it's very interesting to think about. And yeah, that's some things you need to know about when it comes to the NBA. The All-Star break is happening this weekend, and then games will kick up yet again starting on Monday, I believe. So go enjoy that. I hope you enjoyed the episode. A YouTube video should be coming out maybe Sunday about Andy Reid possibly being the greatest head coach of all time. I have a full where I have notes ready for that. And yeah, follow me on Twitter at JJester615. Follow the show's Twitter at Jackie's Show. Follow me on TikTok. Try to post 4, 5, 6 times a day, maybe. JackieBoySports. Email me anything you want to email me. OldJackieBoy1021 at gmail.com. That is OLE JackieBoy1021 at gmail.com. And as always, make sure you like, rate, and share the show. I much appreciate it, especially sharing and especially rating. And I will see y'all probably on Tuesday. So, y'all take care.